I'm of the opinion, though, that I don't think AI can ever replicate Japanese to English interpretation.
I have never felt more like a celebrity than that night.
I remember this very well.
People were lined up to take pictures with us.
Ike, do you remember when I watched you crash your car?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Deskwarmers podcast. I am your co-host, Ike.
And I am your other co-host, Matthew. Ike, how are you doing this fine February evening?
It's a little cold, but doing very well, Matthew. And I mean, I loved our tier list last week. That was a fun. If you have not watched it, we really dove into some details about Japanese fast food.
Dude, we had some controversial opinions in the Discord. People were blowing us up for our opinions. That was funny.
I regret some, but no take backsies, you know.
No takesies backsies, definitely.
Matthew,
yes.
It's not just us today, though. We do have another friend.
It is not just us. You're correct, Ike. And all the way from Tennessee, we are bringing you Mr. Damon. Hello, Damon. Welcome in.
Hey,
Welcome
Matt.
in.
Hey, Ike. How's it going? Coming at you from cloudy Knoxville, Tennessee. And may I just say, Matthew, I'm so sorry about last Sunday, man. They didn't need to do you like that.
Please, I can't keep hearing about this, man.
I
try to make myself forget, but as much as I try to forget, I cannot.
All right.
The
I'll never
Kansas
mention
City
it again.
Chiefs, man.
It was such a sad sight for the eyes, but
It was.
We're here for a different reason today, though.
It was the worst football I've ever seen. Sorry.
That is
just keep
celebrating one of our friends from actually the city. We haven't had anyone from Kumamoto City on yet, I don't believe.
Yeah, not yet. Damon, I think you're our first.
That's incredible. That's really funny. Today, let me back this up. On February 12th, I turned 30, and I spent my week in New York City for the first time with my now wife, who I met in Japan.
Wow.
And, she lived there for a little bit, so she showed me around, and I really loved New York City. It's a huge place. What I'm trying to say is hearing Kumamoto City referred to as,
the big city.
It was, it had a lot of stuff. Compared to the Inaka, for sure. It's not. Tokyo people, they'll say it's Inaka, but they say everything's Inaka. They're Tokyo people.
Yes.
Anything outside of Tokyo just
compared,
can't compare.
yeah. That's like the most densely populated city in the world.
So when New Yorkers would be like, "Hey, how you think? What you think?" And I'm like, I've seen bigger.
Ooh.
Now, Damon, were you high school, prefectural?
I was, yeah. Yep. A whole 5 years, all the same high school. I guess I probably shouldn't say the name of it, but it was one of the. If you're asking me on a bad day, it's probably the fourth top school in the prefecture. That's what we would think about ourselves, I think.
And see, I was feeling really good because I think I was around 10 to 14 in the prefecture, and I mean, my students, I felt very solid about them.
I am currently choosing not to say which place in the ranking my high school was. However, it was not very high.
Bottom 5%, we'll say.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay. I mean, that 5%.
Geography gets in there. All of the top schools are in the city. I mean, if you're really, really serious, you're out of the prefecture. I mean, you go to Tokyo or something. So,
for sure,
it's just how it is.
Which you can do. Tokyo or Japanese high schools. I mean, they're not bound by area. They're bound by where you want to go.
We had one course, the English course, which could be theoretically from anywhere in the prefecture. I even knew a girl who was commuting by bullet train from Fukuoka to come all the way down, every morning. Insane.
Yeah, I could not do that. I mean, for me, a 20-minute drive is long. So taking an hour plus train every day.
East Kumamoto City, suburban. There are tram lines and trains in the city. Not where I lived. I was driving into work every day, an hour. It was quicker to bike, actually.
Really?
But we didn't come here to talk about Japanese traffic. Sorry, don't let me get distracted.
I don't know, man. I have a lot to say about Japanese traffic.
They're very polite. They'll let you win. People will let you win. And me driving around is a very looking how I do, very, clearly foreign. I was always very conscious of like, I'm representing my people, my culture, my country. So I was always letting
So if you
people
hit
in.
someone, it's going to be extra bad.
Yeah. I somehow got away with no accidents in 5 years in Japan. Incredibly.
The first day I bought my car, I thought I was going to fly into the rice paddy.
Oh my gosh.
Driving on the left side, right?
Yeah.
And the roads there, I plugged into Google Maps, which you probably shouldn't do because Google Maps will take you on the quickest route. And that is typically not the mainest road. And so I am just driving through like 4 sides surrounded by patties. That's like the smallest little road.
Yes.
Not hamburgers, Americans.
Yeah, not hamburgers, rice.
Remembering your all's area, there was once or twice that if you don't want to take the highway, you have to go through some legitimate back roads.
Yeah.
Like a tiny village that probably the roads have been unchanged since like the Edo period or something. And here
Honestly,
you are trying to corner through them.
Single lane roads, intersected by rice paddies.
Yes.
So you have to back up and let the other guy go in some cases. Ike, do you remember when I watched you crash your car?
So Matthew, that's a funny story because you are the reason I crashed Mike's
No. Definitely
Matthew
not.
and I, we were in the same apartment complex. We would often, not super often, but we would see each other leaving for work in the morning. This particular day, I'm like half asleep, ready to do my light 2-minute commute to work. I take one turn. It's like a straight route.
Yeah.
But something catches my attention before I pull out of the parking lot. This was Matthew in his car and backed in, so I see his face just staring me kind of down. He has this big bagel in his hands. He's like eating a bagel or something. I'm so distracted. I think maybe the gleam of the sun off the bagel or something. I don't know. I ram my car straight into the cinder block wall. That is how I exit the parking lot.
I hear this loud scratch, this screech, echoing across the valley.
I was just trying to say hello to my friend.
Look, I don't think that it should be pegged on me. I was just enjoying my morning with my bagel balanced on top of my coffee cup, and then Ike just so happened to crash his car. I don't think it was my fault.
I never got that repaired either.
It's a K-Gar. Like, what's the, Yeah, sometimes you're horsing around, you forget that you're in a steel box, and...
Yeah. Things like that happen.
Hey. Costco bagel?
It was a Costco bagel. Yeah, those are Einstein's bagels. Yeah, you have to get 2 big bags of bagels. Either plain
we have
or
to talk
blueberry.
about Costco now that it's been brought up.
We wanted to talk about where to find Western foods, right?
Yeah,
yes.
we did.
I remember I got there in 2019, like half a month before COVID, and when I first got there, there was a rumor you could go to Sakuramachi, and in the basement there was a store called Kaldi that had some imports. Aside from that, man, it was pretty slim pickings.
Yeah.
But then I think my second year, about halfway through, we got the Costco in a little town called Mifune, and boy, that was a game changer.
Game changer
it was
for sure.
Popping too,
Dude, I went on the opening weekend.
No way.
I've never seen... Japanese people, when they're fighting for parking spots, do this funny thing where they pull up to a row of cars that have no indication that anybody's going to leave at any time soon. They just pull up and they throw their hazards on.
And they will just park and wait.
They'll just park and wait.
I have waited longer than I think ever in my life waiting for parking at that Costco.
Yeah.
Like an hour for parking.
Yeah. They were parking at the end caps. Where the lines end and there's that concrete barrier. They were parking on the butt of that concrete barrier. It was desperate times.
The funniest thing for me too is it's very common in Japan for Japanese people to back in instead of just pulling in. I don't know necessarily why it's a thing.
I back in too.
I was the only one that never did
changed.
it. But I really didn't understand it in Costco. Because everyone has all of these giant bags, a full shopping cart, and they can't access their trunk. No. They cannot get to their trunk. I will never understand why these sheep, right, just back in and then cannot even put their groceries in their car. They have to go through like the side, like the passenger door.
Yeah.
It took me probably 5 Costco trips, which, you know, if it's like once every month, I mean, that's a long time to realize this. That I was like, I probably, you know, I'm piloting my car with my sheep hooves, thinking my sheep thoughts, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't back in here. This wait.
I think
everyone's problem
it
when
took
you
us a
back
few
out.
times as well, because literally everyone is backed in. Like, there's not a car that is pulled in, and you don't want to feel, you know, out of the norm.
Yeah, you don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah. But I will say the Costco was amazing.
If you have a Costco near you, dear listener who's out there and probably already subscribed to the YouTube and following on Spotify, let's be fair. If you live in Japan and you have a Costco, you need to go there.
It's very cool too, because your membership, it's black and white, right? So you get a little uniqueness compared to, because American Costco memberships are in color, I think.
Are they
My Costco card was in color.
Well, it's one way or the other. It's either
It might have been
color
it
or
might be an
black
age
and
thing.
Okay.
Maybe they stopped doing
But
black and white,
I know
like-
because it is a global membership. So when I came back to America and I like walked in, yeah.
Look at that guy, yeah.
Wow.
Executive, by the way.
He's an executive.
That's
He's got the black
When
card.
you in America, if you check out at a Costco, you have to tell them at the register, you're like, "This is an international card." And they're like, "Okay." They press a different button. But yeah, it's valid. And considering how the yen is, if you're in Japan, it's actually a lot cheaper to pay for a year at Costco over there.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the things that we would find only at Costco, because I mean, we would get a lot of breads, like muffins and stuff that you usually wouldn't find. A lot of frozen foods.
Yeah.
Even
fruits.
mac and cheese. You could not get Kraft mac and cheese unless you went to Costco.
Basically.
No. Yeah,
And then
Costco has a
Paper
lot
products too. Like
like
there was
paper
a
towels,
lot. Yeah.
paper plates, things like that. Those go a long way. You know, it doesn't really make sense a lot of the time for one ALT to, you know, do an entire Costco shopping spree and then have loads and loads of food just sitting waiting to be eaten for months on end. So I think what a lot of people ended up doing is going in groups to Costco and splitting everything, because you need to buy in bulk. It's still Costco.
Yeah. That's a good point, Matthew.
I mean, you know, in Japan, there's so many grocery stores everywhere. They're so close. The ethos when it comes to groceries is you go to grocery store 3-4 times a week. In some cases, just buying ingredients for that night or the next day or two. Costco is fundamentally opposed to that. You know, that's a place where we go once a month and just go on a blast. But what I will say is, I always loved the bulgogi bakes and the other special Japanese products and Korean products they have there.
Bake.
Lots of interesting stuff coming out of East Asia Costco sources.
Yes.
I always loved seeing all the ALTs post up there for, like, anytime we're on the way to, like, a big, like, Kumamoto event or, like, a party. Like, and I always run into people and be like, I know what you're here for.
Always.
There was a stretch of, like, probably 2 years that I exclusively drank Costco sangria mixed with Costco frozen berries at basically every party.
At every party.
That is a good point too, though, because they did have a lot of like more alcohol selection too, like just like bigger like Kirkland vodka and just like stuff like that as well.
It just makes a lot more sense to get it there.
The bulgogi bake, though, I sometimes dream about it. You know, it was so good.
The funniest thing to me, though, was always the Christmas and Halloween decorations. Because Japan is not really big on decorating houses and yards. In every city, there's like maybe like 2 or 3 dudes who do it, and you always pop off when you see it. You're like, yeah! But, you know, I mean, I'm talking really over the top, full-on Costco Halloween decorations, you know, like laughing animatronic witch robots, like, you know, lightning sound effects, the whole 9 yards, dancing skeletons. And these people would like... and just be like, what the hell is that? Like, what is this robot screaming at me in Costco? Do people buy these?
For a lot of Japanese people, I feel like Costco is probably the closest to America they will ever get.
I used to call it the embassy. Yeah.
Yeah, the embassy, because that was the only place we could find turkey for Thanksgiving.
Yes,
that's
and
right.
in the second year, Matthew and I were, or it was Matthew's first year. The previous year we had de-thawed a turkey, right? And this was a whole endeavor because the Japanese ovens are so small. So you cannot fit an entire turkey in a Japanese oven. And so what do? You have to fully de-thaw it, like chop it into like sheets of turkey, you know, and then like several rounds in the oven. Like, this is a whole process.
God,
but
just by parts.
the next year, we were trying to get another turkey, like as a Friendsgiving type thing.
Yeah.
They had none. They
Zero.
were sold out of turkey.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Do you guys
because,
remember why?
There
That
was
I
some
don't.
guy in Okinawa who bought them all up, I heard, right?
Yeah.
What?
Some guy in Okinawa like made some special order, and they had to divert all of the other turkeys from all of the other Costco's to Okinawa.
That's insane.
The only reason I know that is there's this really now famous burger place up in Fukuoka called US Burger, run by this guy from LA. Great place, great guy.
That place is awesome.
He invited Andy and I one year to come by for, I think he does a Thanksgiving buffet, and he might also do a Christmas buffet. I think during the holiday season, he does like 3 or 4 just interspersed. You drop in, you pay 4,000 or 5,000 yen. It's like an all-you-can-eat, like professionally cooked, just traditional Thanksgiving turkey stuffing, cranberry sauce. You know,
That's nice.
So he was like, "Yeah, man, last year these guys, man, they took all the turkeys." You know?
That was such a tragedy. We did like prime rib instead or something.
Yeah, we did. Was that
it
the
was-
year
it's
your
It's
mom?
not bad, but
It wasn't bad. It didn't hit the same though, you know.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
Thanksgiving turkey.
Ike, didn't your mom come to that one?
She did. Yeah.
Nice.
She was in town. I was really sad though because we traveled around Japan, great time, but we did miss one of the like bigger festivals in Kumamoto. And so I actually, even though I was there like a full 2 years, I actually never got to go to it. But we did celebrate Thanksgiving together. It was a blast. She got to meet all my friends. So
That's cool.
yeah.
I'm trying to think what festival that would be if it was around Thanksgiving. Kumamoto City does the big knockdown drag out horse dancing festival.
Yeah.
I want to say that's like August, September. I missed it my first year, and I was like, it's fine, I'll just go next year. And then COVID, and we didn't have it for like
Shut it
3 full years. I thought I was never going to see it.
So, Damon, you got to see the pre-COVID, during COVID, and then post-COVID times of our little area in Kyushu.
It was a special thing. It used to be a lot, less expensive. The inn used to be a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see Kyoto without tourists. I mean, without international tourists, domestic tourists, of course. Yeah. Pretty much.
I bet that was like pretty fun though to be able to travel because like all of my coworkers and stuff, even when I got there, like kind of middle of COVID, like kind of after COVID, they would not travel still.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it was really funny because everyone was pretending they weren't traveling. But like tons of people were. There were huge subsidies. It was called the Go To Travel campaign.
Oh, that's right.
Where they would pay up to half of your domestic tourism fare, which is insane because at the same time the government was asking high schools to cancel their class trips for pandemic control. But I mean, those kids take that hard. It's like one of their big high school memories. And at the same time, they're subsidizing these retirees to go do the same thing.
there were a bunch of travel
even
incentives.
I got a few like hotels that were like half off or something where it was
Yeah.
they would pay like up to like 5,000 yen or more. Like
It was insane.
Yeah, but at the same time, I remember when I was applying to the JET program and I was talking with people who were already there, they were like, yeah, my prefecture told us not to leave at all
Yeah.
during that time. So there was little they could do about that.
yeah.
I mean, America wrote Japan's constitution for it when we were in kind of a different phase, when we were kind of more open to this thing called human rights. And But in all these restrictions of like the government physically cannot tell you and make you stay home.
Amen.
So they just have to ask very politely. And people traveled. Like during the beginning of it, before the vaccine, we would stay in for the most part. But later on, when everyone was masked up anyway, and in between surges, kind of, if the rates were low, people would, and other teachers would also travel. They just wouldn't tell anybody because one, it's obviously you're being told not to leave, and two, if you tell people you traveled, you have to bring omiyage, and that's money.
Did you two bring omiyage to your schools?
Generally, yeah. If I went on a trip and they knew about it, I would bring back a little. But I mean, not anything crazy. They always sell the boxes of perfect souvenir snacks in the airports. Just grab one of those and head back. Yeah.
I'm kind of
Honestly-
a horrible person because I would never bring it back.
Never?
I traveled a good amount, and every time I'd look at the like 3,000 yen, like, you know, purchase like Omiyage, and just kind of be like, no.
I was putting miles on the gaijin card.
Depending on how the school was currently making me feel in the moment, I would usually, because I had 3 schools, I'd usually only bring back 2, and then maybe main school doesn't get Omiyage today, or maybe branch school doesn't get Omiyage today.
Ike, were you just one school, or did you have multiple?
I just had the one, yeah. Technically, I had a special needs school, but in my 2 years there, I only went like 3 or 4 times.
Really?
So it was pretty much just one school only. But yeah, we would transfer between middle and high school. But now, David, I did have another question. About like the COVID stuff. Were bars still open during that time?
We had this thing called Mambo, which I
Number
really
5?
Yeah, that was always the joke. It stands for something that's like Manin Bolshits or something like that. I forget exactly what it stood for, but it was basically like a pseudo lockdown. It was about the closest that we could get to a lockdown, where the government in Kumamoto City was asking all the businesses to, you know, please close down. If you close down, we'll give you money. And like, so most of them did close down, including, you know, Jeff's. Detour stayed open a bit more. So like the crowd kind of left Jeff's and went to Detour. What crowd there was? I mean, we stopped having students.
The 2 bars you're referring to are the like international bars in Kumamoto City.
Yeah.
The 2 big foreigner bars in Kumamoto City.
A lot of memories.
You know, one of the main components of the nightlife scene was the university students at Kumadai, the exchange students, and at Ritsudai as well, the prefectural college. So of course it was COVID; they weren't coming in anymore. So the crowd was like shrinking, and they were like going to the place that was open. I always preferred Jeff's myself. Takumi was a really nice guy. And there was also, even during times when it was like big surge, nobody should be open, everyone stay home. There was at least one time that I remember my friend took me to a place and was like, no, like, it's cool, like, don't worry. And it was like, I'm like, and they're like, fuck, like, this is crowded. Like, are you guys for real? Like, this is dangerous. What the fuck? This is pre-vaccine. Like, this is like Delta wave or something. I'm like, am I gonna fucking die? I somehow avoided getting COVID for years and years, but
wow. I actually just got COVID for the first time. Like,
for the first time?
For the very first time, like 2 weeks ago or something.
Really?
But my symptoms were so mild. I had nothing really. But I had so many. We had a lot of good memories at those international bars as well.
Definitely. There was the time where IQ won the Halloween costume contest.
So we as a group, they had a Halloween king and a Halloween queen. I'll add some more detail here.
Yeah.
Our friends from our rural city where Matthew and I lived, we decided to do like a theme this year.
Yes.
I don't think we've talked about this yet on the podcast.
No, I don't think so either. It was a group costume.
It was a group costume. We were throwing around ideas.
Oh my gosh, we were throwing around ideas.
One of the leading ones was like, we all go as the Lorax or like something like this.
Or like, yeah.
And then we had a brilliant idea. Actually, Sam saw this idea and she's like, you know that popular anime spy family with that little girl, Anya? Mm-hmm. She wears pink hair, you know? They're like, why don't we all, guys and girls, just dress up like her?
Uh-huh.
This was a week before Halloween. We immediately bought our costumes on Amazon. They
rushed.
Flew to our house. The postman, he like knocked on Matthew's door. Matthew wasn't there. He was like, here, do you want his like package too? Which in America would never happen. But I accepted Matthew's package on his behalf. We all went, like 7 or 8 of us or something, as Anya. And so we're just these like we all have pink wigs running around Kumamoto City. I have never felt more like a celebrity than that night.
I remember this very well.
People were lined up to take pictures with us. We were walking through the konbinis and like people were really staring and laughing and like everyone wanted to talk to us. Like
we were popular.
It was life changing. I was like, wow. I was like, this is what it's like. This is crazy.
It really was. You couldn't step 3 feet without having somebody take a picture of you like from across the street. So going into Jeff's, the whole group of us, and seeing not so many people with Halloween costumes on. I mean, like, everyone had a costume, but
not everyone went as hard as you did.
Some were better than others, yeah.
Our group of 7 or 8 people really added to the effect of each individual Anya costume. And actually, before that, we were getting, I think, Korean barbecue or doing something like that. And imagine 8 people in this same costume with this pink hair, black dress, guys and girls, and each individual table around this small little tiny Korean restaurant is like looking at us, staring at us, sneaking photos, which is weird in Japan, and then straight up asking for photos.
You can hear the camera click.
I held a baby for the first time. For the first time. She gave me her baby and took a picture of us holding her baby.
She was leaving the restaurant and she just threw the baby into Matthew's hands. It was so funny.
I didn't know that. That's so funny, dude.
But to finish the story, we get to Jeff's. They're like, you guys are amazing. We're going to give you, like as a group, or what do you say? You have to choose a person?
Yeah.
Is that how it went down?
Yes.
And so the guys, we all rock, paper, scissors. We John Kenned for it. And I won.
Yeah.
And so I received $100 gift card to Jeff's, which I shared amongst our friends.
Mm-hmm.
But
nowadays it's more like $75.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. Ichi
Times are tough.
But that was such a fun night. Like, just going around and being like that popular. Because like we were a bunch of Anyas with beards, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was great.
Peak. I mean, that was what, like
Kumamoto
2022?
Yeah. Yeah, Halloween 2022.
I'm pretty sure that was the first like Halloween where things were like open, you know, like after, I mean, we would do Mambo and close things down. I'm doing air quotes on the screen if you can't see. But like, you know, once or twice it was just me and some like close friends in like the park, you know, the big circle park.
Oh, the circle park. Yeah.
We're just like, you know, get some conveni drinks. Or just
next
sit
to
out
Lafcadio Hearn's house.
Next to Lafcadio Hearn's crib. That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it's probably what the government intended. At least we were outside drinking and smoking and, you know, but...
Yeah.
So when people saw you guys, I'm sure that was just like a blessing into their hearts. They were like, the world is going to be okay. We're all back. Like,
we saved Kumamoto City.
Yeah, like Kumamoto, it's a big enough city, yet it's not. It's far enough off the beaten tourist path that like the people are not entirely just fucking tired of us yet. You know what I mean? Like people, not that we were tourists, but like there's a lot of like Tokyo. I feel like they're very used to seeing folks like us. In Kumamoto, there's a little bit more of that, like, oh, whoa, this guy's crazy. Where is he from? Hey, like, I love the Kyushu people, the attitude. Like, it's just different. It's a different air.
Yeah, that's true.
Damon, do you think Kumamoto City kind of encapsulates most of non-Tokyo Japan?
I mean, that's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah,
it encapsulates Kyushu very well. I will say that, 100%. But I mean, you know, how were you went like all around, right?
Yeah.
Like we've both been to, you know, Hokkaido and like Okinawa. Like then we've seen a good chunk of the place, and it's really quite different depending on where you are.
I feel the same way. Like literally every like larger city throughout Japan like has its own like vibe, kind of.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say Kumamoto City is like it's maybe more standard than some of the others, but it definitely doesn't encapsulate everything.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Tokyo, you have such diverse city vibes as Kyoto and Osaka, and they're neighbors. They're right next to each other. And there are no two more different cities, I think, in the entire country.
That's a really good point.
I'm entirely team Osaka, by the way. Kyoto, really? after you see it with like barely any tourists, it's like, well, the old stuff, they're not going to build any more new old stuff. And, you know, there's no point in going back. They're snooty anyways. I'm just going to go party in Osaka, dude. Like, you know,
and it's only like, it's 2 Shinkansen stops away. I think it might even just be 1.
I think it might be just 1. Really.
Which is crazy. You're right. You can't get any more different.
I don't even know if I took the Shinkansen. I might have just taken the normal train. Like it's right there. And then Nara makes up the third point of that triangle. It's a great spot. I definitely recommend it to everybody to visit at least once.
If you'd ever played the 2nd generation of Pokemon, it's a lot like that.
Wait, Kyushu is the 3rd?
Yeah, Kyushu's the 3rd.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's go, Kyushu.
Now, Damon, do you have any fun or super memorable stories from like Jeff's or Detour? Because I feel like a lot happened in those places.
I mean, it was like, they were the pillars of my social life for fully 5 years. Like, There's more than I can probably tell, but like, I mean, we were talking, Andy, my wife and I, we were talking about like how just funny it was that there was a dance floor in the back of Jeff's, cram all these people just sweaty and gyrating,
your friends DJing just any other night,
like casually, don't worry about it.
International bars are where it's at, and if you can find a really good one,
they kept ordering Fireball just for us as well.
Good Lord, yeah.
And like we would do Fireball shots.
Takumi had the owner of Jeff's. He had a bell you would ring, and if you rang it, you had to buy shots for everyone in the bar. And if you didn't, they would call the police. But then if you did, they would record how many shots you bought, and then put your name on the shots, like the shot buyer's season score, like a scoreboard. They would track you like the shot kings of winter 2024 or whatever. Mm-hmm.
What was the record for that? Do you remember?
Oh, the highest I ever saw was like 56 or something, I want to say. And I mean, 500 yen a shot. I mean, that's not nothing in terms of. I only did it like once or twice. And it was very strategic. It was like it's just me and like 3 or 4 other people in here, and I know all of them. Like,
yeah. I went to Jeff's a couple times, not as much as probably y'all did, but. One of the times I went, I feel like I like caught the golden goose, or like I, using the Pokemon reference, found a shiny Pokemon, or I feel like I had something happen to me that not a lot of other people say that they could have happen to them. I went to Jeff's in Kumamoto City, and I met Jeff.
Oh yeah. Jeff Morrow was there, huh?
So Jeff is the guy who started Jeff's back in the 90s. He was an ALT.
He was a jet. He lived in my apartment complex.
Much like us, although I'm pretty sure he was one of the first in Kumamoto City.
I do believe so.
And his problem was that every time he wanted to go out in the city, he couldn't find like a bar, like how we would understand one as Americans.
Yeah.
A lot of izakayas probably. Yeah, a lot of Japanese bars are really just izakayas or those snack bars where they invite girls to talk to you and you kind of have to pay for their drinks and things like that. So he really wanted a bar experience. So I think he may have gone back to the US for 1 or 2 years, but he ended up coming back and living in Japan and opening up a bar. And it's still there to this day.
Still there, yeah. He was at Kumasho. But one of my good friends. You guys remember Luna?
Yeah.
He's no longer a Jet, but so Jeff would be his like great grand senpai or something like that. So the story is that he started a bar, and then the natural track for a Jet who wants to stay in Japan is oftentimes to try and become a professor. And so when they were accepting him to the professorship, they told him he can't own a bar and be a professor, so he has to choose one. So he sold it to his friend, and that's who owns it now.
Wow.
Well, I would love to get him on the podcast.
Oh, that would be crazy, right?
I think I have his business card.
I know a couple of people who are like sort of Jet, like at least for Kumamoto, Jet sort of like historical figures. I hate to say it, but that's the only way to, vintage ALTs.
Yeah.
It might be fun to talk to him just about the old days. There's this book by one of my students. Her dad, Peter Smith, was not a Jet, but he was some kind of Nova teacher or something back in the 90s. And he has a book called Gaijin, and he wrote it. It's autobiographical, and he talks about different, like crazy stuff back then.
Yeah.
People's houses getting burned down by jilted ex-lovers, like the whole 9 yards.
Awesome.
Sorry, we don't have to go down that particular.
No, that's crazy.
Before we get too distracted, I feel like we would talk a lot about stuff that we wanted to talk about, and I don't know how much more time y'all have.
Thank you for shoving us back on to a little bit of topic.
Sorry, I tease you, I shove you, I tease you.
No, Damon, talking with you is so awesome because you always have such very good insights.
This is a good segue though, because talking about like what ALTs are doing after Jet, and I know this was a topic that we had kind of discussed and haven't really gotten into, is for the 3 of us, some of the skills we used like actually as ALTs. We talk a lot about like the Deskwarming time, which Damon, maybe first we have to actually ask what you did at your desk before we jump into this next question. But we wanted to also kind of talk about how we have actually developed some skills that are transferable into our current positions as well. But what did you do at your desk, Damon?
It's a very funny question.
As you desk warmed,
Well, like I said, I was there for COVID. So during Mambo, during the surges, everything, we still had to come to work every single day.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had to sit in a school with no students and pretend to care, I guess.
Was there
to
even
look
online
busy.
school during that, or was it?
There was
literally-
not the infrastructure for it yet. They had not
Yeah.
passed out the Chromebooks yet. There was nothing for it. So there were no kids. It was just us. Side note, teen pregnancy consultations spiked in Kumamoto at that time. That's why there's still a positive birth rate in the prefecture.
There you go.
Funny, tragic, but funny. So bored kids, I was bored just sitting at school all day. I studied a lot of Japanese. That was the year I got my N3. Or at the very least made some serious strides to doing it. And I ended up getting my N1, my very last chance in
Let's
Japan.
go.
Let's go.
Like a week
Congrats.
before I left Japan, I took
Yeah.
the test, and then months later I got the news. So I did that. I discovered Discworld by Terry Pratchett. Fantastic fantasy
Hey,
series.
should I read that?
Yes, dude. Yes. Start with Guards, and just read the Vimes stuff. It's so good. And then in my later years, because I don't know, that kind of broke me. That experience of Deskwarming, that broke me. And that I know. And my teacher saw me goof off so much. We were watching YouTube and just hanging out. They saw me goof off so much that they knew that I was still emotionally in the game. But it's like American style. It's like, I'm just hanging out. I don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out. Talk to me if you need to. So knowing that they knew that about me, I definitely painted some Warhammer models when I was my last year. I got
my
really into
gosh.
Warhammer, so I'm at my desk gluing and painting.
Damon, I struggle with myself because I want to ask you about that, but I know it's going to take maybe more time than we have to ask you about.
Bring me back on the
Warhammer.
pod. We'll do a Warhammer episode
Okay.
for no reason. I will say, I think I helped start a gaming club in Kumamoto.
I think you did.
I'm still in the
Wait,
group chats.
I went
Those
to
boys
one of
play.
the board game events actually.
Not
as well.
board gaming, Ike.
Oh, okay,
Specifically
wow.
Warhammer.
Wow.
There are
Like-
some Warhammer. What do you
dude.
call yourselves?
like I don't know,
Enthusiasts?
nerds.
Enthusiasts?
It was my
Otakus?
neighbor. No, my girlfriend's. She was my girlfriend at the time. My now wife. Her dad got news that he was very, very sick. He's fine, but she had to go to Italy to visit him in an emergency. And my neighbor, we had talked about Warhammer lore because I'd read the books. I liked the books, and we talked. But I was never at the time. I was like, I'm never going to touch that game. It's too expensive. And he brought over. He's like, hey man, I saw you're lonely. You're bored. You need something to do. Here's a box of Space Marines. Here's a bunch of paint. Here's the tools. I'll help you get started. Let's do this. And I'm like, all right. So a
all
week later, I have
downhill.
my first platoon. I have my first squad of intercessors, and I send a picture of it to my now wife, and she's like, you go for a week without the touch of a woman. And this is
It's a downward spiral, man.
I want so bad, not exactly the same, but to buy a 3D printer and just print out my own figures because But then my problem is I don't think I have the patience to actually paint them or to paint them well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not artistically talented at all.
It's fine.
And-
you don't have to be.
But I'm gonna hate
I
it
get
if
you.
it looks bad. So it's like
But I was really happy though, 'cause that started, that friendship. We played some games. We got some other people playing games. Everyone in that Jutaku was just looking for an excuse to buy and paint Warhammer stuff. And so there's a group around we drive down to Uto to visit someone's house. He has a nice big space to play.
His house is crazy.
Yeah. We're talking about the same guy.
Yeah.
Insanely nice for Warhammer.
We got to get him on the pod. I need to ask
man, I
about
think
his
he'd love
3D
that.
printer.
Yes.
he has one too. Yeah.
And he's not the only one. One of my other friends, my neighbors who still lives at the Jutaku in Kumamoto, he just bought his own 3D printer. Just crazy stuff. I brought my computer to Japan, disassembled in my bag, and I thought that was pretty special for that. But
I mean, as a fellow PC, master race gamer, I did the same. So I actually we had two 50-pound luggage. Was the weight you were supposed to keep it under was 50. Both of mine ended up being overweight, and one only had my computer in it. And I had actually built a smaller computer before I left because it was gonna be too big, my current one. And so I assembled a micro computer and everything and brought it with me. And then in our 14-day quarantine too, I set it up in the room and just played League of
In the
Legends.
hotel room?
Funny.
Yeah, in the hotel room. Yeah.
We gotta talk computer PC parts after this podcast because I disassembled mine. I didn't have a case. I was just gonna buy another case when I got to Japan and kind of put that in there. And so my first night, all I had was my PS4, which I had also brought, but I didn't have a lamp. So I went to the Gayo, which is like a couple blocks from my house, and I bought a copy of Dark Souls 3, all in Japanese.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, not a beginner level Japanese game, dude.
No.
Dude,
I love these gamer priorities. He doesn't have a lamp, but the PS4's there.
Well, I had a TV.
Might as well
and I had a
get
PS4, but
Dark Souls too.
I needed a game to play on the PS4. Anyway.
I
So-
had a
futon?
desk before a bed, so
Yeah. So you asked me what I did when I was Deskwarming. That's what I did.
Okay.
That's
we
awesome.
read,
what
study
was
Warhammer.
what was the other question we were gonna get to?
the
'Cause I have
follow up
forgotten.
then was using those skills as a Deskwarmer. Did any of that translate into your job after Jet, or into what you're doing after Jet?
Well, so currently I work for the biggest university in my state. I am on the help desk, which is it's kind of low level tech support, but people call us up and I can help them. It's a phone job, and it is also fully remote, which is really, really, really nice. So I hang out and I wait for calls to come in. So in between those calls, what am I doing? Deskwarming, baby. Whoa. So yeah, but deskwarming in my own house with my own video games, with my own stuff. So I still paint Warhammer at work is what I'm trying to say.
So something's never changed. You actually,
Something's never
by
changed.
learning how to paint Warhammer at your desk, that is
Yeah.
translated into
So-
still painting Warhammer at your desk.
Crucial skill.
Just now during your other job. Wow.
It's taking all my
Full
restraints to not
circle.
go over to my display case, just start pulling little spacemen out for you to look at.
Full circle.
If you want to do
But
that
then
at the
also,
end,
at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
But then also, Japanese, legitimately, I had nothing to do, and I always studied Japanese just because I was bored. Even before I knew about Jet, I was like, I graduated college. I don't have anything to learn anymore. Oh, this stuff is interesting. I'll dip my toe. So I crammed a lot of Wanikani, a lot of Boom Pro. And I now do translation work on the side, freelance stuff. I don't know if you guys would know the animes that I work on, but it's for a proper localizer corporation. They do tons of stuff.
oh, cool.
Nice.
Do you guys know I Parry Everything?
No,
If you haven't heard of
not,
it,
no.
it's fine.
I have a friend named Perry though.
Yeah, I'm sure he parries everything
Parry
all the
the
time. It's
platypus.
I think he
it's-
absolutely and only parries everything.
It is inverted One Punch Man in a fantasy setting. So when no matter how tough they are, when they try to attack this guy, he parries them. And it's pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot more than the first one I worked on, which was kind of dog water. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much
you're
I'm allowed to
translating.
talk about. Yeah, I'm translating. They send me. So far, I have translated 2 boxes for DVD releases. So mostly it's episode synopses, character backgrounds, prop design, that kind of thing, and credits.
Oh, cool.
So they give me these things, and I just boom, 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 boom. They give me the videos of the anime. They give the translation of the dialogue of all the episodes, because sometimes they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I go and I watch and make sense of it, and then I go back and
Yeah.
Got
It's
it.
chill.
So
Keeps
you're
you
almost
fresh.
like copy editing the the subtitles as they come along, and then fixing mistakes.
No, so another
they've already
person
got
does
that figured out.
The main translator is in charge of doing what's called the simulcasts, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
where they get the script and the episode before they're broadcasted, and they do all the
Yeah.
translations, and then that's converted to a subtitle file. I'm doing a whole separate thing. I check their work to figure out what is the official name of the official translation of such and such noun, etc. But I'm doing this for a fully separate physical release of the media, which comes with a really cool little booklet with a bunch of backstory and other information. I translate that stuff.
Awesome.
Okay. Nice, man.
And yeah, let's make a little fun money.
That's really cool.
Put a little cash into
That's
the
cool
Warhammer
fun
fund.
money.
Thanks, I appreciate it. But I was actually really shocked at how prolific, that's not the word, how common jobs were in Japan or in America for Japanese. I mean, my qualifications are pretty low. I have the N1, sure, but back when I only had the N2, I went up to Shiga, which has the lake, the one with the lake next to Kyoto.
Yeah.
This place called Ozu for a translation interpretation seminar. It lasted the whole week. You can do it twice. Shout out Church of the Dangus if you know, you know. And the people who were up there are mostly CIRs. I was kind of like a special boy as an ALT because I think they have to go. But for us, it was like a special treat for the ones who really care about Japanese. Because you have to do like an online course first, which is like meh. And then you get to go to the actual in-person thing, which is insanely cool. They had this corporation called Intergroup come out and tell us about like legit interpretation stuff. Like here's a podcast about interview with like the Coca-Cola CEO talking to this person, make it Japanese. Here in Japanese, we're talking to Shinzo about, funding cults or whatever he loves to do in the afterlife, make it in the English. I learned so much, dude. So between that, N1 and my little interpretation seminar I went to, I was getting job offers in America. I turned them down, obviously, because I didn't want to move out to the Midwest and become like a cornstarch trader.
Hey,
it's not the Midwest fault. Well. I would move to Indianapolis or, of course, Chicago or even Kansas City in like a heartbeat. But like, man, this is like tiny. And I had some red flags with the company. But what I'm trying to say is there is a space to make away with just Japanese and some interpretation experience and just being like a sociable person. Like I think that's absolutely still a thing. It's like you throw your resume up on LinkedIn and like Indeed and like the other random ones. And there's a couple of services and recruiting companies that are run by, well, sometimes ex-Jets who they're just trying to find people who have just come back from Japan, are fluent in Japanese, and they're looking for, a way into that industry. I mean, next week, someone found my like resume from the job hunt days and like wanted me to do some freelance interpretation in my area. So like next week I have an interview with them and we're gonna hang out and talk about it.
Super cool. Speaking of that industry, I mean, as AI makes leaps and bounds in progress and competency in understanding context of different things, and of course translation, I mean, it seems like interpretation is kind of hanging by one hand off a cliff in terms of real people doing that job.
It's funny. I think of it as I think of it as a 2x2 grid, right? Where one of the axes is English to Japanese or Japanese to English. The other axis is translation or interpretation. For those who are not in the know, translation is written, interpretation is spoken. And there's a lot of different subtypes, but that's the basics, right? So I'm of the opinion that English to Japanese translation, easy for AI to do. Absolutely easy. And even probably interpretation to an extent. I'm of the opinion, though, that I don't think AI can ever replicate Japanese to English interpretation. I just don't know, man. Like, especially in a casual conversation, there's so much nuance and meta knowledge that's required to make heads or tails of it. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything's impossible because we live in a world where technological leaps and bounds constantly astound previous generations. So I'm never going to say that it's never going to happen. Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'll believe it when I see it, and there's clearly still jobs in it because I'm making shmoney, boys.
Definitely. Hey, any listener out there who's interested in the JET program and also probably a little bit interested in doing some interpretation and or translation. In the future, it sounds like you've got some job security.
Like, it's not, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. There's tons of, economic ties between these two countries. Plus, it's just like a cool party trick to bust out. I was in New York and, I was like, ordering in Japanese with these funky little izakaya. I heard of my first Nihongo Jozu in like months, dude. It filled my meter up, dude.
Jozu.
I see it. That's so good. That's a sweet hoodie,
for those who can't see, my sweatshirt that I'm wearing right now has the kanji for Jozu, but not quite. Because
wait, you're right. It's
the kanji is actually incorrect, but underneath it, the hiragana is correct. So when people would see this hoodie and they would look at it and point and be like, that's wrong, right? They'd be like, don't you like realize? Like, and I'm like, yeah, that's the point, is that I'm not actually Jozu, but like,
hilarious.
They wouldn't get it. most people wouldn't get it.
Humor is one of the most
seen people
difficult
make
things to
comments about.
translate.
I've seen people make comment about your sweatshirt, Ike.
Yeah, they would laugh and stuff and be like,
That's funny.
Like they're like, do you know that's incorrect? And I would act really surprised too. I'd be like, hey, like, what you got to do?
Really
And they would be like, yeah, it's like wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Bro.
But to tell my story a little bit too, because I also translated some skills where when I left Japan, similar to Damon, I had taken the JLPT like right before I left. I took N2 like right before I left. And so I only had N3 when I was applying to jobs. And I actually did pass N2 a little later, but it wasn't even on my resume. And even with N3 though, I was applying to a Japanese automobile company, and they still did the full interview in Japanese to me. I was actually so scared because I did not know that this interview was going to be in Japanese. I knew that the position, like my manager was going to be Japanese, and that maybe it was going to be helpful that I had, some knowledge of the language. But I get a phone call from the guy, and he's just like, "Oh, moshi moshi," and I'm like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "Oh," and my world broke because I had not prepared much, and I did the interview like maybe 60% Japanese, 40% English, where like when I was speaking, I would sometimes like to get my opinion across, I would convert back to English, but it went well enough that then I got a second interview also in Japanese. This one I prepared a little bit more for, and I had some keywords to say that I was going to be, a bridge between Japanese and English at the company, and like some, buzzwords and stuff. And I got the job. So I don't use as much Japanese in my position now. I definitely, it helps that I understand the language. Yeah. But as far as speaking, like my manager is very fluent in English, and everyone else around me pretty much speaks English. So it's more of like, almost like Dave was saying, like kind of like a party trick where it's like, oh, I can understand what you're saying and I can partake in conversations. But for me though, it is like almost a choice because I could be using it more if I like wanted to, but at a certain point I felt good enough. I fulfilled my goal of being able to understand anime.
Yeah,
right?
There you go.
And
man.
so now
That's
that
all
I
you
can
need.
now that I can understand anime without subtitles, like 85-90%, like I'm chilling, right? Like I kind of lost the drive to keep pushing myself further.
That is literally what happened to me when I got into. The difference between N2 and N1 is massive, but the realistic use case of the grammar you're learning, it just goes off a cliff. Yeah. Like N2 is all
that's
you need for everyday life.
Like all these like grammar patterns and stuff, the only time you're using it is if it's like super keigo or just
written
like
material
or written. And so
like I think we're the same, Mike, in that we both derive motivation for studying off of the sting of not knowing what someone's saying, and you're like, fuck, I gotta go, I gotta improve, gotta get back in there. So that's really funny. I didn't know we were similar like that.
Yeah, I definitely really enjoy, like I love learning Japanese, and like that drive was still really present for a while, but then at a certain point I felt comfortable enough with my ability that I kind of stopped having a lot of motivation. So I really do applaud you, Dan, because that, like you said, that N2 to N1 is such a crazy gap.
It took 3 tries.
It's such a big gap. And for those who don't know, like N3 is like conversational or like everyday like use. And
when I got N3, I was like, I can tell people I speak Japanese. This is what this means. Yeah.
N2 is like more like business. Like Damon said, you can pretty much say a lot of like complex interactions more so, and like understand most of what's coming at you. But then N1 is like you're reading like newspapers, like historical documents, like it's like a whole nother animal.
And what's crazy about N1, man, is that like when you graduate with N1 or when you pass the test, theoretically you're on the level of like a high school freshman. Because if you want to go and read actual, like, say, prehistoric or pre-imperial era stuff or, like, high literature, you're not done studying. What are you joking?
Hey,
there's
you gotta,
kanji kente, brother.
You have
Get
to
on that horse.
You have to unlock the secret level N0. That's when you start
That's
to
true.
really learn
N0,
Japanese.
the mythical N0.
Like, fully,
I kind of understood the situation when I was asking Japanese people, like they're still learning well into adulthood some words and interesting writings for lesser used words,
just
and things
like us,
that.
man. Just like English speakers, like
it's you're never gonna reach a goal where it's done. You're never gonna be finished.
Fundamentally, that's true. We made a remark about get back in the gym, and I wondered if you guys wanted to. We mentioned, I don't know how much time we have. We mentioned talking about fitness in Japan.
No, yeah, for sure.
I'm happy to jump into that. Matthew, did you have anything else to add about work ALT knowledge conversion into after Jet? I know you're currently pursuing something greater, but you do have also a kind of a side gig right now.
I was going to say not at all. I'm a substitute teacher. I go in there, I play the video, and I get out. No, I've been side hustling, man. I got my substitute teaching job. I'm applying for law schools, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the Japanese knowledge or ability that either of you have, but it is still a fun party trick. I get up in front of the class. I tell them I was teaching in Japan, and they're like, "Do you speak Japanese?" And I'm like,
Mochiron.
Watashi no tomodachi.
What's your go-to sentence, Damon? If someone says, "Tell me something in Japanese," do you have a go-to sentence?
Oh man, I usually just hit him with like hanaseru or something like that. But
yeah,
I do this fun trick where I like if there's like a snowdrift, because it was really snowy in New York, or like snowdrift, or like if I'm like like shit posting in like World of Warcraft, because like I am only human. I hit him with like it was like "Kore o yomereba omae wa gay" or something like that. Like I'm bisexual. It's fine for me to say that, but it's like if you read this, you're gay or something like that. Like it's really stupid. So I would probably say like "Kore wa kareba omae wa gay," and they'd be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing, Damon. That what impressive."
Wow, he speaks Japanese.
The funny thing is I have a story about the opposite of that, which is friends of mine who told me about what the JET program was. We're getting a Japanese degree here in Knoxville at our college, where I met them. And they got to study abroad, and they had a friend there, this guy, I think Roy, who was fluent in English, Japanese guy. And they were out at a club, and he's macking on some fly honeys,
Sure.
And these Japanese girls are asking him in Japanese. They're like, "That's amazing! Like, you speak English? Like, you're hanging out with these like foreigners? You speak English? That's so cool! Like, say something!" And he's like, "I got you." He's like, "Hey, baby, you shit with that ass?" And they're like, "Ah!"
Oh my gosh.
They probably think it's so cool though.
I mean, they have to have understood at least that he was cursing, but
or that he was joking or something like that.
Who knows?
That's funny.
Well, anyway, earlier we were talking about being goal-oriented, and Damon, you did bring up the gym, and I remember going over to your apartment, Damon, and seeing a list on the wall. That list had dates, and that list had numbers. Can you tell me about that?
I still have one.
No way.
I started another one. Oh, yeah, man. And keeping track of my weight. So I was a pretty rotund guy. Not like actually by American standards. Like, I mean, everyone has a different standard. But by my standard, I was a lot heavier than I wanted to be. I was probably sitting at a comfy 230 pounds when I came to Japan. And I'm right now around, I guess, 200. I've gotten down to 185 before. So it all depends on whether or not I've just come back from a long vacation where I ate like crazy, So no, I learned a lot of stuff about losing weight in Japan, tracking calories, eating healthy, getting good macros, going to the gym. I got a lot of strength and I built a lot of muscle, and then and only then did I figure out and do some research and learn what a calorie was. And then I lost a bunch of weight, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm jacked. This is who I am now. This is my identity now." And that was like 2021, and I've never looked back.
That's awesome.
I mean, my favorite actually lesson, because you were I was part of your English camp.
My English camp,
some of the other ones.
Oh my god!
And I always remember Damon's lesson, because each of us, and we've talked about this on previous podcasts about the English camps, but each person would come up with a lesson plan, and you would basically do that lesson plan on repeat for like the whole day.
Yeah.
Maybe like 6 to 8 times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would do multiple lessons, but Damon, what was that lesson that you came up with?
It was really a stroke of genius, because it's so easy for me to like just throw together. I'm really not like a planning kind of oriented guy. Unmedicated ADHD in Japan, etc. No, I went to a store and I got some PVC pipes, little lengths of PVC pipe, maybe 3 foot each. And so my whole thing was like, I would show up in gym clothes, like, like a tracksuit and like a towel around my neck, and it'd be like, what's up? Welcome to the gym. I'm your personal trainer. You know, like, pick up that barbell. I'm going to show you how to do, you know, I'd take them through like Romania deadlifts, overhead press, you know, like, you know, barbell curl. And I'd be like, you know, like, oh, squeeze it, get crazy. You know, just, you know, tiny stuff like that.
But the whole time you're teaching them in English, like what the different parts of the muscles are.
Yeah. We're doing muscle vocabulary.
I did the same thing, but parts of like cuts of beef and pork and related it to barbecue.
Yeah, dude.
That's genius.
Nice.
Different body parts, but yeah.
That's fun.
Deltoid's a deltoid, brother. Like,
If you're eating it or not, I don't know.
The only body parts I did was Operation, you know, the game where you like put the little metal in. And those have like funny, they're not like real parts of the body, right? So that was like a way to teach like idioms type thing. Whereas like you would teach them like what each of those things kind of meant or whatever, like the funny bone or the Adam's apple or like different stuff like that. But
so Damon, in your weight loss journey, did you find it easy to get like healthy foods or the kind of foods that you were looking for?
yeah, extremely. I never really tried to do weight loss in America because I guess I just didn't really think about it. I kind of thought that my body would just look like whatever, and it was somehow connected to probably what I was doing in my lifetime, but I never really thought of it beyond that. Like, it's hard to explain. But it was just a fundamentally unexamined way of my relation to health and my own body. So I started examining it, and I was able to get, fresh fruit, expensive though it was, you know, an apple a day, like during lunch. It really helped me out. I started cooking chicken breast, meal prep style, once a week, and putting it in a salad. And that is still, like, most of the time my default lunch. Just chicken breast and salad.
Dude, I had that tonight.
It's a good meal.
It's
a good
awesome.
meal. It's filling, high protein. The biggest thing in Japan that I could find everywhere that I cannot find here, that is actually a huge deal when it comes to like cutting calories, unnecessary calories out, is non-oil salad dressing.
Oh.
That shit is rare in America, dude. There's one brand, and it's called Skinny Girl. So I guess that tells you about the marketing of it that I can find in my local shop. But in Japan, it was like it was common enough to be like a generic salad dressing that every supermarket would have. Yeah, but specifically ao shiso, like blue shiso leaf dressing. Incredible, insane. I mean, the whole bottle, you know, probably has like 20 calories in the whole thing. You can guzzle it if you were feeling like frisky.
Honestly, the best part about salads is just the way the dressing tastes.
Well, see, here's the thing. For me, the best part about salad was like the fact that it was like very few calories and also very filling, because there's like this philosophy of volume eating where you're eating a bunch of volume that is mostly like water and cellulose, so that it's actually very little calories, right?
Yeah.
So because I like to feel full, but I want to lose weight, so that was what I did. So like for me in America with the salad dressings, you know, ranch and French and everything, all the rest, it's like they're so delicious and oily and caloric and sugary that it defeats the purpose of a salad. If I'm going to be, you know, and some people might not think this is healthy. It works for me if it's not healthy for you. You know, I'm very lucky in that I have the suite of personality characteristics I do to avoid developing a very bad eating disorder from thinking about food in this way. But for me, in air quotes, if I am spending 300 calories on a piece of food, brother, I'm getting like a piece of fried chicken. I'm going to get a fammy chickie. Like there's way funner things I can think of to eat than that, I guess. And that's sort of how I
mean, if you go to Chick-fil-A or something, you're getting like a 2,000 calorie salad. Oh, you know, it's more than the sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
It's like more than the milkshakes even. Like it's actually insane.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
I mean, it's not that high. I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but
it is quite.
It is surprisingly
high. It is quite higher than you would expect. But I mean, our 2 episodes ago with Austin, I talked about my negative experience at the Japanese gym. So I won't get into that. But for me, in Japan, I just naturally lost weight. And part of it was just how much you're walking compared to in America.
Yeah.
Where I was really like, I could walk to a lot of places more than I do now. And then also the other part was I feel like a lot of the food is just a lot healthier, just naturally. And maybe smaller portions too, but I
could have been the area that we were living in. Because we had a lot of fresh produce, and I mean, we're right next to the ocean, so fish
Also,
sushi.
like buying your own food, living alone.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big thing for me.
I also went down like an MMO arc, and so that just made it so I like didn't eat.
So you didn't have money to eat because you were spending it on the MMO.
It wasn't that I didn't have money; it was I didn't have time to eat because I was too busy playing.
When I got to Japan in 2019, it was classic WoW, and it was over, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I played Lost Ark, which is a Korean MMO that got ported into North America, and I never looked back. That I think the first year it came out, I put in, what was it, like 1,400 hours or something within 1 year, which equated to like 5 or 6 hours a day.
Jeez.
So
if only we ever learned to study Japanese with that kind of
yeah, right. Like,
Are you guys still talking about gaming?
So much
it's
better
MMOs.
things.
You
I could've
guys
done.
brought your PCs to Japan. I brought my Japanese GameCube home.
Oh, what a beautiful
That
color!
is sick.
Hey, come on down to Tennessee. That's our football team's color.
Yeah?
Unironically, it's beautiful on a GameCube. It's horrible on a T-shirt, in my opinion. I remember thinking like, well, I'm really poor because, dude, the first like couple months of Jet for me, I was poor.
It takes a lot to move.
I was like, I'm pretty poor, so $15 a month on this MMO subscription is actually going to save me money if you think about it, because otherwise I'm just going to be out drinking on the weekends. But I forgot about the time difference. So what actually happened was that Friday night raids in America were Saturday morning raids, and then I would go out drinking Saturday night anyway.
Yeah.
So then you just spent double the money.
I just spent double the money. But I mean, honestly, getting drunk in Japan is really, really cheap.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true.
way cheaper than it should be. I see
The one
soju
cups?
bottles sold here in Japan for $10 or in America for $10. And I'm like, brother, that's 350 yen at most. What
The
are we
one
talking
Always,
cup
always
at
cracked me up
7-Eleven?
though.
for soju? Yeah.
Like America, like a soju bottle, like you said, like $10.
Yeah.
In Japan, for me, it was still maybe if you're going to like a kombini or something like 500 yen. I feel like it's like so like 350 maybe. But then when you're actually in Korea, it's like $2 or something.
way.
Like there's like staggers, and even in Korea,
funny.
it's even cheaper.
Feel like
Yeah, but in
Japan
Korea they
or
don't do the
something.
flavored soju.
They don't.
They got done with that. Flavored soju in Korea was like a fad. It was like the early 2010s.
They did have two flavors when we went, Matthew. They had
Yeah.
it was one was grapefruit and one was like lemon or something like that.
We were just
It was
drinking
like,
Nama soju.
it's rough.
I have
can
a
talk
very
about that at a
important
different
image.
time.
I have a very important
Yeah.
image to post and show you guys right now.
Okay.
Is that what channel should I post this in?
You can post it in the like the recording chat.
Recording chat?
Or the pre-pod chat.
Pre-pod chat. I
Pre-pod
got you.
chat.
There it is. It's a
can-
picture featuring Garfield climbing a bottle of soju, and it's labeled the 4 stages of soju. 2 drinks is I'm rich, 4 drinks is I'm good looking, 6 drinks is I'm bulletproof, and 8 drinks is I'm invisible. So 8 cups of soju, I'm invisible.
I'm invisible.
That's funny.
Soju's just like that.
Matthew's Korean friends really taught me the wonders of soju, where you take a cup. Inside the cup, you have 2 shot glasses.
Yeah.
The bottom one.
Yeah.
The bottom one is soju. The top one is Coke. And then you pour like beer along the edge.
Yeah.
And you just take the whole drink. And the magic is the soju and beer mix, and it's kind of disgusting. And then you get the sweet release of the Coca-Cola. And as that Coke is just like a natural chaser, you're ready to go again. It was a beautiful concoction.
In Korean, the name of that drink, I can't remember the Korean name, but it essentially translates to through all of the bitterness and hard times, sweet things shall come in the end.
There's no way.
Yeah,
Is that
I love
Chamisu?
that. I love that because
Funny.
it really is true. Like you have to force yourself through that first bit.
Yeah.
Like you're really struggling, and if you don't I don't like the taste of beer, so I really am pushing. And then as soon as you get the sweet Coke, beautiful.
I love making weird drinks with non-conventional. I mean, I would consider soju non-conventional liquor, at least here in the States.
Definitely.
So, my wife and we were out at in St. Mark's in New York City a couple days ago at this izakaya called Kenka, like fight. And it's hilarious place. The kind of Japanese person who moves from Japan to New York to do an izakaya, they're quirked up.
Yeah.
Like, at least the guys at this place, I mean, there was like basically porn on the walls. Okay. You know, like random Imperial era swag, just like what is happening here type level. But our friend wanted a vodka soda, and I was like, well, rice shochu, that's kind of vodka-y. And I asked the guy, I was like, あのね、ウォッカソーダがないなら、なんか、お米焼酎とソーダ割りはどうかな? Like, what do you think of a soda, a rice shochu soda? Like, am I cooking here? And he kind of gave me this look. He was like,
maybe not.
Turned out it was pretty good.
It wasn't bad.
I felt like a genius for having that idea.
That's awesome.
That's my story. What else? What did we want to talk about? I'm drawing a blank here.
Well, whatever we do talk about, final thoughts.
Konnyaku. Japanese konnyaku. Very low calorie, very filling. Noodle shapes. Okay. Block shapes. You buy this, dude.
We were all wondering what he was cooking there. I saw the brain
like, where's
wheels.
this gonna?
The brain wheels turning.
Dude, black coffee, konnyaku. You know, fresh veg. Like, go crazy with it.
We had an
chili.
episode. Damon, our 4th episode, Ike's fiance Sam was on, and she was talking about how Konnyaku makes her throw up. So this is a very funny callback to
Konnyaku defenders right here.
It is
I'm defending Konnyaku.
So gross.
You can wash it, right? You don't have to deal with it's just filler. It doesn't. You can get rid of that taste and smell for the most part. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I think I had a matcha cognac once or something as well. Where it was like. Maybe it wasn't cognac, but it was some sort of like Jello type substance that was similar. And then
is this
put like
miracle? Is this Japanese miracle food about to change the way you live?
Legitimately, yeah. I think they call it shirataki here or something.
I'm very team anti konnyaku, but we would put it in the comments if you do like cognac, because you will not be judged, but I won't agree.
That's a controversial opinion, Damon.
Yeah. What do you guys feel about natto?
Not though so much of a fan.
I passed a sushi place in New York that didn't look very like authentic. That was called Nattou, and I was like, I took a picture. I was like, these guys don't know. I'm not going here ever. These guys don't know. No, Nattou's fine. It's just the texture's a little bit rough. But so the texture is rough, but the taste, on the other hand, is also really bad.
And the smell too.
And the smell also is horrible.
Well.
I will eat it, but I'm not going to enjoy myself. Mixed with rice, that gets rid of the texture issue.
Yeah.
Not the taste issue, but I mean, they swear they love it, man.
I'm too much of a texture eater to enjoy it.
Yeah.
That really affects it. Like stuff like Konnyaku, I'm not too bad about, just because I understand it's more of like a gelatin than not. But with natto, it's like slimy, but then you're biting into the bean, and then it's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, I can't get behind it either.
I'm not gonna cry if I never have it again.
And then from across the Shokuin Jitsu, I'd see like a teacher like eating lunch, and they're just like downing this natto, and I'm like, please stop. I can smell that from here.
It's like a mozzarella stick.
Oh,
it's like the cheese like stretching, but it's actually just like goo.
I'm an okra lover. I don't mind a mucilaginous food. Just natto, man. It needs to taste good is the thing. Have you guys talked about like exotic foods on the pod before?
A little bit, yeah.
We talked about the horse and then raw chicken as well.
Yeah,
we've talked about some other things too, but yeah.
I did get handed a cup of delicious fried goodness in a stall in Kumamoto, and I asked what it was, and he was like, "Kujira." So I have eaten whale, not intentionally.
I never got the chance. I wouldn't have been opposed.
Because it's already dead,
Right, like I would have at least tried it. I don't think I would like necessarily want to like support or purchase it, but if it was in front of me, if it was in front of me though, I would eat it.
Like if it's already been purchased and it's like no, I get you. I disagree with that trade so much, but also curiosity is a hell of a drug. I in Omoide Yokocho in like Shinjuku, I once ordered a skewer that was just pig asshole, like specifically the hole.
Specifically the hole.
Yeah, because now I get to say that I did that, and I know what it tastes like. Tastes like bacon. It tastes like pork. I don't know if you wanted to know that information, but it's just pig. At the end
I
of the day.
could have guessed, but the fact that you said it like that and it kind of
It's kind of like
affecting me.
anticlimactic, right?
No.
I know. I was more, in my own thoughts before, and then now I'm just imagining a fried, crispy piece of bacon. Not to say that I would eat it, though.
There are some delicious things to eat in that country, but there are some very interesting things to eat as well. They rarely do they cross that path in whatever metric, whatever matrix that you want to put it on. But when they do, it's kind of a stroke of luck.
An absolute must visit, and this is a chain. It's in most big cities. An absolute must visit in Japan is this chain called Hanbei. They are retro, like Showa style izakaya. So, it's all Inca music and stuff from like the 50s. It's really cool. And their menu is massive, and it has some genuinely weird shit on there.
Is this the place that's
limited.
Is this the place that's like always really bright on the inside?
I remember it being pretty dark, actually. It's pretty
Never mind.
like dark wood and kind of,
mind.
I don't want to say dingy, but like authentic to the era, I guess I'd say.
No.
Wood, But what I'm trying
wrong.
to say is they have a very large menu, including but not limited to just sparrow. Just like an entire plucked roasted sparrow on a stick.
sparrow.
Just a bird. Yeah. They have like wasps and frogs. I mean, dude, Showa era, early Showa era, they were kind of eating what they could find. I think something might have happened in their history. I'm not sure. Scientists are still researching that. But yeah, food used to be a lot more of a broad definition, I guess, back in the day. You eat what you can.
Eat what you can.
Wow.
Well,
I think that covers all the main topics, though.
Any final thoughts?
Shout outs?
Shout outs?
I've had a lot of fun today. I love yapping about this kind of nonsense. Ask me back on if you want to talk. Did we miss any big things? Any big topics we wanted to? All right, sweet.
No, we're chill.
Yeah, whatever we'll save for next time. Damon, honestly, we could talk for like 2 or 3 more hours.
I dare say I agree. Did you come unplugged there? Are you still plugged?
I'm plugged back in.
Okay.
I did
Well, you
become
cut out for a
unplugged for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks you so much for having me, guys. This was a really delightful way to spend my evening.
Yeah. Well, it's good catching up with you, Damon.
Yeah, right back at you.
Yeah, great to hear your voice.
It seems like you're all doing well.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we sign off this bad boy?
Well, I don't know. Just enjoy the rest of your night. And guys, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow the podcast on Spotify. If you're listening on YouTube, go to Spotify and follow. If you're listening on Spotify, go to YouTube and subscribe. It's that easy. And
join the Discord.
Yeah, and join the Discord. Anyway, thank you all, and goodbye. See you later.